I'm now the owner of a tar papered shack. I was able to get the tar paper up on the roof. Not very well because I can't get up on the roof. I've only got a step ladder. I haven't got anything high enough to get me up there. But I got it on there well enough. It's been raining for the past 2 days and it's dry inside, other than what comes in through the doorway there. But the roof isn't leaking any with just the tar paper up there. But I've just rented a section of staging, scaffolding. It should be delivered tomorrow. With the scaffolding, I should be able to get up and get the rest of the fascia boards and trim and whatever around the eaves and put up the drip edge and start the shingling. So hopefully the weather improves. I'll get the shingling done in the next few days and that will make it tight. Well, the scaffolding arrived today and I got that up without too much difficulty. Now I'm just measuring the fascia boards, and they're not nailed up there, they're just tacked up so I can get the length right. It's too damp right now, it's foggy and drizzle, so I'm just going to measure them, cut them, and take them in the basement and let them dry overnight, and tomorrow I'll give them the first coat of paint in the house and hopefully get them dry so I can put them up on Saturday. This is Thursday, the night of the royal wedding. This is the 28th. Tomorrow is the royal wedding. I'm planning to get up at 3 a.m. like a fool that I am to watch the royal wedding, so I imagine I'll be quite tired tomorrow. Well, it's April 29th. I got the fascia boards and the drip edge on and started a row of shingles, but I think I've got to do a little more reading. I'm not quite clear how you get a decent pattern out of putting them up there. I thought I understood it, but I don't think I do. And I've been up since 3:30 this morning watching the royal wedding, so I think I am a little too rubber-headed to continue for the rest of the day. I'll see if I can watch some YouTube videos on installing shingles tonight and tackle it again in the morning. Well, it's Saturday, April 30th. Just finished shingling one side of the building. I decided to go with one of the two patterns that's explained on the package of shingles. This one's called random. I figured everything else that I do is random, I might as well random shingle, so that's the one that I went with, thinking that it might hide some of the more glaring mistakes that I've made, but I think for a first shingling job it's not too bad. Now I have to tear down the scaffolding, move it to the other side of the building so I can shingle the other side and do the ridge. Well, there's the roof shingled and the door built and installed with a thumb latch, which I'm not quite sure that I'm thrilled with, but anyway, it seems to work all right for the time being. I think I'll probably buy a hasp and a padlock to put on it anyway, just to keep little boys and girls out when I'm not home. Not that they would do any damage, but I'm sure there'll be a lot of curious children that'll want to see the chickens, and if they let them out when I was away, there could be a problem. The two pieces of wood that are tacked on the right-hand corner there is just so I could take measurements of what it will be like when the corner boards are put on it. I'm trying to measure up to center the two windows, one each side of the door. And the roof is tight. We've had torrential rains and sometime in the night, and it's just stopped a few minutes ago, and not a drop came through the roof. That isn't to say the floor is completely dry. The wind was on the front of the building and water came in under the door. So I guess I'm going to have to buy weather stripping to see if I can't make my homemade door a little more weather tight. But anyway, the roof does not leak. That's a great relief. Next, to get the windows in. Just to give you an idea of how my thumb latch door works. A little peek inside of where I've been working. And my dry roof, which I'm very proud of, and the wet area on the floor here where it came in and ran down the floor from under the door. I guess the way it ran down to the back probably means the building isn't completely level either, but anyway, I think it'll do for my hen house. May 7th, I just finished installing the soffits up under the eaves, which sort of proves how the building isn't all that square. They're 4.5 inches wide on this side of the building and 4 inches wide on the other side of the building. But anyway, it's a hen house. And now I am trying to put in the windows. I bought something called shed windows or playhouse windows. They're cute little things, but there's no frame required. You cut a hole, the dimensions of the window, and pop it in, and it has a flange around it. Well, I've just used my skill saw to get started on cutting these holes. I cut a bit on all four sides, and I'm going to finish it with a handsaw. And this will give you an idea what the windows look like right here. Not a bad little window, and only something like $25 each. I bought them on eBay, of course, and I paid almost that much again for shipping. But they have screens in them. The lower part of the window raises to let in some ventilation in the summertime. I'm going to cover the whole window, though, with hardware cloth, that square mesh steel stuff, because I don't think the screens are strong enough that they would keep out our lovely raccoons here. Want to get in and kill whatever chickens they can get their hands on, so I'll be covering it with hardware cloth, even though it does have screens. Well, I decided the handsaw was a bit too much like work, so I ended up finishing it with the skill saw, but there's one hole cut, and the window fits the hole. I'll get that installed in a few minutes. Hopefully I can cut one on the other side of the door that's approximately the same height and distance from the door and all that good stuff. One window installed. When I put it in, I put a bead of silicone sealing around the edges before I plunked it back in the hole in an attempt to keep rainwater from beating in around it in windy, rainy days. Also, once I've put up the hardware cloth to cover over the entire window, I'm going to put a molding around it, a frame like I've put around the door there. And that also, I guess, should help to keep any rain that might beat in around the flange. But I can't believe the number of screws that went in the thing. There were no instructions came with it. I don't know if they really meant for you to put a screw in every one of those holes or not, but I did. It'll never fall out, that's for sure. There's one down, and I kind of like the looks of it. I've been inside and tried raising and lowering it, and it works very slick. So the hens will now have light and air. Got both windows in. It wasn't that difficult a job. I used the piece of plywood that came out of the first window hole as a template to mark and cut out the second one. But they both have gone in quite well, and hopefully sealed well with the silicone sealing that I've used. But anyway, like I say, once I get the hardware cloth around them, I'm going to put a frame around them. That should also help to keep water from getting in. But it makes a big difference inside the hen house. It's just as bright and light in there as can be. Really nice. Well, it's May 11th and another rainstorm. I got the hardware cloth over the windows the other day, but I don't think I took any video footage of it. So that's the windows with the hardware cloth, and waiting to have the window molding or trim or whatever put on, if it ever stops raining long enough. And I have been inside the coop today, and I have turned the coop into a paint shop, I guess. That's all of the pieces cut out for the corner boards and battens and the window molding. I got one coat of paint on them. I'd like to think I get a second coat on today, but I'm not so sure that's going to happen. The air is so humid. I've probably been, I don't know, an hour and a half, 2 hours painting these, and the first pieces that I painted are just as wet as when I first painted them. They're just not drying in this damp air. So maybe tomorrow before I get the second coat on. Anyway, I'm very pleased with my roof. No leaks. Believe me, it's been tested today. It has been torrential rain. There's some rain coming in through on the sides where I haven't put battens over the seams yet. Hopefully when the battens are up there, that will solve that problem. Well, it's a couple hours later, and it isn't drying. The paint's really quite wet. The rain seems to have stopped, but the air is still so humid, so I had an idea. I've brought out a little quartz heater, and I'm running that wide open for a few hours to see if I can get it dry enough to give it a second coat of paint. I'd like to get these things up tomorrow if possible, if I can get them painted and dried. Well, the rain only stopped for a very brief period of time, and then it started right up again. But the little heater did its job quite nicely. It's only about 7 degrees outside, and with the door closed in here it managed to raise the temperature inside to 21 degrees, and the wood paint dried very nicely, so I was able to get a second coat on. I think I will leave the heater going, if not all night, at least for most of the evening, till it really dries everything out. Hopefully tomorrow, if the rain lets up, I'll get this project finished. Tomorrow will be the 12th of May, and that'll be a month since I came home from my vacation. I think I ordered the building supplies the day after, so that would have been the 13th. I think they arrived on the 14th, so I guess that's not too bad, given the weather we've been having and whatever. A little less than a month, and I'll have the project finished. At least I hope I will. It's May the 11th, and almost like a miracle, we're getting a few sunny breaks amongst the clouds, and so far no rain. So I'm getting started and putting the trim on. It should only take an hour or two, and I'll have this job finished. I got the trim around the windows anyway. Be it ever so humble, there's no place like home. At least I hope that's how the chickens feel about this place. That is the finished project. I'm quite pleased with myself. Shouldn't brag, because it's not perfect by far. There are lots of mistakes and errors. So I was able to do it almost entirely by myself. More than 99% by myself anyway. I'll show you what I mean. I hired scaffolding, rented scaffolding, so that I could shingle the roof. And I was able to shingle the roof both sides from the scaffolding without getting up on the roof. I have a great fear of heights. Well, I tried to convince myself for a couple of days that I could do that ridge. I had to get up on the roof to do the ridge, and there was just no way. I could not convince myself that I could do it. So my next door neighbor came over and did that part for me. It took him about 20 minutes. Other than that, I did it all myself. Well, to complete this third video in a series of 3, I'll show you what I've brought out of the house. I brought out my brooder, and I've got it set up. I'm just trying to get it adjusted so that the temperature will be approximately right for when the chickens arrive in about 2 weeks' time. If you can see a thermometer down on the floor there, the ideal temperature at the center of the thing is supposed to be 95 degrees. And I have the infrared lamp going, and it was just at about 110, so I've raised it a bit, trying to find the spot where it'll be correct at 95 degrees. It isn't completely set up. It will have shavings in the bottom, and the shavings will be covered with newspapers for the first few days when the chickens arrive, but I just wanted to get an idea that, check it for a day or so, that it will provide the proper heat out here. Although it's very warm in here today with the sun shining on the roof and coming in through the windows. It must be 20 degrees or better inside of here. So, ready for the chickens about 2 weeks' time. So stay tuned and you'll see baby chickens soon.